A question I've been getting surprisingly often, but maybe not surprisingly often with the amount of just sheer information there is out on detailing is, do you really need to polish before you apply a ceramic coating? Or is this just like kind of hype? Our brand's trying to sell me more products. Do I really, really need to do this? How important is it? And so in this video, what I want to talk about are the pros and cons to why you may want to polish and why you may not care to polish, and then what a professional detailer generally does. So I kind of want to cover all of those questions so that you can make the most informed decision. I think that's the purpose of putting content out, is to make an informed decision. And sure, I will tell you what I normally do, but I'll give you kind of the too long didn't read. I polish most of the time. Most of the time I do. However, there are times that you actually don't need to. Detailers don't want to talk about that because if you're detailing a car, you want the best case scenario. If you're detailing a car for a customer, you want the best possible product to deliver. And so the best possible product to deliver generally is to polish. And then when a car is pretty much perfect and you don't need to polish, well, we don't talk about that, right? So obviously for me, this is partly why I developed the Picture Perfect Polish, to make this polishing step as easy and as quick as possible, to be honest. I'll be totally transparent in saying that polishing a car is not my favorite part of detailing. I don't really enjoy it at all. It's not fun for me. I maybe have like a little too much OCD and want to be all over the place, but it's just too mind numbing for me. So for me, it's a step that I want to get done as quickly as possible if I have to do that. But what does polishing do? I think it's helpful to talk about what polishing actually does and that why that may be beneficial to you, why you might want to do that, or why you might not want to do it, right? So what polishing does is it removes those swirls, micro scratches, spider webbing, sometimes they're called, buffer trails, basically any surface defect in the paint, it's going to remove those. So maybe a little bit of oxidation, water spots, which is really common, especially on new cars that are getting like lot washes. And so polishing is going to remove all of this stuff and restore the gloss, the depth, and that reflection in the paint, and it levels out the surface. So levels all the, when you talk about removing a scratch, really what you're doing is you're leveling out the clear coat to the base of that scratch, right? You're not really, you're removing the scratch visually, but practically what you're doing is you're leveling out the surface. So you're not really removing any orange peel. That would be kind of a deeper defect, I guess, if you want to call orange peel a defect. So you won't remove that. Sometimes I have customers questioning that, if the orange peel will be removed. But basically, you are leveling out the surface to make it smoother for coatings to bond. Yes, for the coating to bond, but you're cleaning up the paint, I guess is the quickest way to describe that. So even like a quick one-step polish can really dramatically improve the appearance, especially in darker color cars. And honestly, polishing isn't always like what we as professionals would call like paint correction. Sometimes it's correcting certain parts of the car. Some parts it's just kind of like a light refinement. So a car's surface can really vary from surface to surface. And so you don't always need to do like a 2-step or a 3-step or a very heavy duty paint correction on the hood as you do on the doors or vice versa, or the roof of the car, because each surface of the car can actually be different. This is kind of why paint correction, I don't love it, and why it can be difficult for people, is because even though you do want to do a test spot to kind of get your methods down, every panel of the car can actually be different. And especially, I'm just talking new cars. If you're talking about cars that have been repainted, it can be a whole nother animal. So it makes kind of paint correction difficult sometimes, right? And can be overcomplicated or can overcomplicate the situation because there are so many variables. So the pros and cons of each. So the pros of polishing before ceramic coating, are maximum adhesion. So you're getting the surface down to a clean, smooth, clear coat. So if you want maximum longevity, and this is what I tell either my clients or people that are buying like the Gloss Boss, Tough Show, whatever. If you want like maximum adhesion, you got to polish, right? The best aesthetics, so like gloss upon gloss upon gloss, because the coating is going to lock in whatever the surface is. So if you want to lock in like a swirl-free, glossy finish for years and years and years, polish, okay? The coating performs better when it can adhere to bare clear coat. This is also why the invention of like, IPAs or panel preps or anything like that is to remove any of the oils that the polish has left on the surface. And so you really, if you do polish, you normally with a normal polish, you want to hit it with an IPA or a panel prep. The Picture Perfect polish is a little bit different in that it actually doesn't leave anything behind. It doesn't leave any of the oils behind. And the very, 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 very minute oils that may be left behind actually flash off with the solvents in the Gloss Boss, which is kind of a system, how we developed it to work. But there's virtually no oil left on the surface with the Picture Perfect polish. And a polish paint reflects evenly. So again, we talked about you don't remove a scratch, you kind of bring down the clear coat to its level to kind of shave off the edges. And so when you polish, you're making the surface even. And so a polished paint kind of reflects evenly without any like dull patches or weird things. Sometimes you see like, sanding marks that have been done at the dealer or even at the factory. And so polish kind of removes that. And this is a big part of it, is that peace of mind. If you polish the paint, and this is why detailers normally will polish the paint before coating, is you just have peace of mind that you won't see any defects underneath the coating, which is kind of like a worst case scenario, that you finish polishing or you finish coating the car and you see some defects under the coating. Especially a fresh coating can kind of be very tricky to remove, and then remove the coating and then remove the defects then. Very, very time consuming. If you already don't love polishing, it's going to be not super fun. So the professional standard, and kind of what I hinted to before, is like most pros will not coat without polishing. It's not worth putting their reputation on the line. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth any of that. Even a quick one-step polish is what most pros will do. And if you're applying a wipe-on ceramic coating like the Gloss Boss, a small glass bottle wipe-on coating, as I'll refer to it, it is in most cases, 99% of the time, worth the extra effort and time to polish out the car, at least with a quick one-step polish. It's usually worth your time. Obviously, I would recommend the Picture Perfect polish because you're going to have the most bang for your buck, the most bite with the polish, and then you don't need to use a panel prep after. You could go straight to coating, but this is in no way meant to be an advertisement just for my products. This is, do you need to polish paint before you ceramic coat? It's supposed to be informative, but again, I'm going to tell you the tools that will help you get a faster result too. So some cons of polishing, and this is kind of what you have to weigh, the pros and the cons. It is time intensive. So it could turn, a 4-hour ordeal into an 8 to 12-hour ordeal very quickly. Polishing sometimes just takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. That's probably why I don't like it. I don't have a lot of patience. Sometimes buffers can be intimidating for beginners. In today's day with DAs and dual action machines, that kind of learning curve is you're really not going to mess anything up with the DA as much as people want to say you are. This is why I'm very against beginners picking up rotaries. Rotaries, the learning curve is steeper, and not only is the learning curve steeper, but the problem is that your risk of doing something damaging to your paint is significantly higher. And because it's significantly higher, it's not worth the risk of picking up a rotary when we have dual action machines that are phenomenal and you're actually going to get a better result. So if you're a beginner, a DIYer at home, there is absolutely zero reason, in my opinion, to pick up a rotary polisher because the cons far outweigh the pros. Okay? And so You can get holograms, you can get micro marring, you can get clear coat burn. You could really damage your clear coat. And again, there are pros to rotary polishing, in my humble opinion, as you could tell. The pros do not outweigh the cons with rotary polishing, because with rotary polishing, things happen so quick, and the fixability of those things that happen are extensive. So to start with a DA, and you are removing paint. So again, rotary things happen very quick, but just realize even if you have a DA, you are removing clear coat. You are thinning out that clear coat. And so it may be not worth it to go do a full paint correction, and it may be worth it to just do a heavy one step. And that's, again, not to make this an advertisement for my products, but that is exactly why I developed a picture perfect polish. It's like, how much defect removal can we get with as little clear coat removal as possible? How can we make this, again, as safe as possible, as safe and as enjoyable as possible? So again, but going back to the list of cons, like, you got to get a polisher, pad, lights, and not everyone wants to invest in that, and not only invest monetarily, but also to learn how to do it. So if you hire a pro, it's going to be more expensive when they're polishing the paint. And again, not every car needs it. And one thing that I really take into consideration when talking about how much polishing or how much paint correction is, how is the car going to be maintained? So having a product brand, I kind of, run the gamut, and actually detailing cars forever runs the gamut. But this is a question that I really, really like to ask customers. It's like, how are you going to maintain this car after I ceramic coat it? And then once we know that, let's back into how much paint correction we need to do, right? So if you have a white car, you're running it through the car wash because you're buying the monthly pass, which obviously I highly recommend and avoid against, but it's not 100% avoidable for a lot of people. But again, this is why I developed a super soaper and all that stuff. It runs the gamut. There's people that for their professional careers and for their business, they literally run their car through the car wash every day. I know it sounds crazy to some people, but they write in, I hear about it. And so if you're doing that, you may want to skip a ceramic coating. You may want to go for something like PPF, paint protection film, right? That's going to be a lot better for your clear coat. And then you can maintain the PPF with something like Tough as Shell, but those are the conversations that you need to have. So the pros of not polishing before ceramic coating. So you could wash, prep, coat all in an afternoon. It goes very, very quick, especially if you use something like the Gloss Boss for ceramic coating, where you can coat multiple panels of the car at a time. Realistically, I can ceramic coat a full-size SUV in about an hour to an hour and a half with the Gloss Boss per layer. So wash, prep, coat all in one afternoon. You can imagine how quickly that goes, about 4 hours if you don't need to do any paint polishing on a full-size SUV. On a Tesla Model Y, a small sedan, that's going to be that's going to be a lot quicker. So the accessibility, if you don't have to polish, obviously it makes ceramic coating realistic for beginners. You wash, prep, and coat. That's it, right? So even if the paint isn't perfect, if the paint, like I like to say, is perfect in your eyes, you're still getting the benefits from UV protection, chemical shield, that extra layer of insurance that we all love ceramic coatings for, easier maintenance. It's a lot more valuable to have a ceramic coating on your car, and low barrier to entry, no machine, no pad, no learning curve. You could skip the polish, you can only buy the coating, and it just goes very, very quick, right? So those are the obvious pros. The cons of skipping the polishing is you may have swirls and scratches and stains that remain under the coating. If you don't do, a panel prep or an IPA wipe, the coating may not last as long as corrected paint, which could be a big factor, because if you don't have paint is porous and leveling it out as best as possible, as you wipe on the ceramic coating, you are filling in the most amount of pores as possible. sometimes brands will call this like the matrix, and the matrix gets into the chemistry of the product, but the matrix is basically how the molecules are, or the formula is bonding to itself and the clear coat at the same time and forming a matrix to bond. And so there's little particle sizes and big particle sizes, and those bond and fill in those pores of the paint and create a matrix, right? So having uncorrected paint could interfere with that matrix, and make the coating not last as long, right? And honestly, you may be disappointed with the final look compared to a polished finish. That would be a big bummer to invest the time to, do the ceramic coating, even if it's only 4 or 5 hours to do the ceramic coating, and then not be happy with the finish would be a big bummer. So again, you can get away with this a lot more on lighter color cars than you can with darker color cars. I would say I've only had a handful of dark color cars come through my shop that don't need to be polished, but I've had significantly more light color cars that can get away with not being polished. So again, take that into consideration as well. So I would say like practical scenarios, and what I like to tell my customers is, again, if you have a brand new light color car, you're probably going to have a much higher chance of not needing to polish. You could probably wash, prep, and coat. If you have a darker color car, you're probably going to have to polish. If you have an older daily driver, at least a one-step polish is usually worth it. If you're doing a lease return, or you're like flipping the car for some reason, you could probably skip the polish. If you're doing that, I'd probably honestly just apply a spray ceramic if you're flipping the car. A lease return, a wipe-on ceramic coating is ideal for, because it will last the whole length of the lease, make your car look great, and will make it really easy to maintain. And again, if you have a garage queen or a work truck, I mean, different priorities, gloss versus protection. And it really just depends how you're maintaining the car. What is that car going to see? If you have a white color work truck that you're running through the tunnel car wash once a week, but you do love the idea of a ceramic coating, and you understand that it may be degraded faster, but it's a white work truck and you just want to give it the best hope possible, you could probably skip polishing. I don't know if people are going to call me a hack for that. They might, but you could probably skip polishing, because you don't always need to polish. It just depends on the goals and the expectations. Okay, so if you are going to polish, this is kind of like my tiered approach, I guess. After talking with a customer, or interacting with you guys as you email in, wash and prep, have to, right? Always. One-step polish, 90% of the time. Multi-step polish, a very, very slim percent of the time, because most people are going to fall into tier 1 or 2, as I call it. Like, we're wash, prepping, and coating, or we are going to wash, prep is going to be a one-step polish, and then coat, right? The key is to manage either your customer's expectations or your own expectations. And again, if you want perfection, take the extra time and polish. It's going to take an extra couple hours depending upon the paint, but it's going to be well worth it in the long run, because polishing does give you, either you have a light color car or dark color car, it doesn't really matter, because polishing gives you the best results possible. Not always required, but it is going to give you the best possible results. So my opinion, or my takeaway, is that you have to choose based upon your goals, the car, and your budget, right? So again, your goals, the car, and your budget, and also how you're going to maintain it, right? If you think about all those things and kind of map it out, that will help you make your decision. If you have made your decision and you want products that make it a lot easier, the Picture Perfect Polish is going to make your life a ton easier. Again, developed from a guy who doesn't really like polishing, so I want to get it done as fast as possible, as safe as possible, right? Obviously, for your ceramic protection, I have the spray with Toughest Shell, or the Gloss Boss, which is my wipe-on coating, which you can apply very easily. It is a pro-grade coating that is incredibly easy to apply. I apply it to a whole half of a car at a time before I go back and level. This makes it super, super quick to ceramic coat a car. So If you want any of those products or more information on those products, obviously I'll put links in the description. Most of them are on Amazon as well. So thank you for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Hopefully that clears up some questions and gives you some at least information to whether then you can make your own informed decision. So with that, don't forget, I will link everything below. Thanks guys for all the support on that. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.